kind-hearted McDonald's worker decided to give leftover food to hungry homeless children. She never expected the backlash that followed. Her enraged manager, blinded by corporate policies, fired her on the spot, accusing her of theft without a second thought. But what this arrogant manager didn't realize was that someone at one of the tables had seen everything. And not just anyone, Keanu Reeves. It was a cold Friday morning, the kind where the chill sneaks in through the cracks of the building, making the warmth inside the McDonald's feel almost comforting. Emma, a dedicated employee of 5 years, dried her hands methodically after washing them, glancing at the clock. 10:30 a.m. The dining area was quiet, occupied only by a few scattered customers, a routine morning. Old Mr. Johnson sat hunched over his newspaper, his half-eaten McMuffin forgotten on the tray. In the corner, a young couple whispered to each other, their fingers intertwined. The peaceful atmosphere of the dining area was a sharp contrast to the tension brewing in the kitchen. Emma barely made it back to her station when she heard the sharp, irritated voice of Mr. Bradshaw, the manager. His frustration was thick in the air, his words slicing through the kitchen like a blade. "Look at this mess," his voice boomed. Emma flinched. She peeked around the corner just in time to see him glaring at a tray piled with rejected food, burgers that weren't quite right, fries swimming in oil, orders that didn't make the cut. "How many times do I have to tell you people to pay attention? This is money down the drain." He snatched a slightly burnt burger patty and held it up like a piece of evidence in court. "Unacceptable. And these fries? You could fry a whole chicken in this grease." He tossed them back onto the tray with disgust. Emma's heart ached for her coworkers, Jack, Mina, and Tom. They worked so hard, doing their best under impossible expectations. Yet, no matter what they did, it was never good enough for Bradshaw. And then came the final blow. "Maybe I should start deducting your pay for every mistake. Maybe then you'll learn to be more careful." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the low hum of the refrigerators and distant chatter of customers couldn't break the thick tension. Emma stole a glance through the office window as Bradshaw stormed out, grabbing his cigarettes, wallet, and phone. Then, just for a second, he hesitated before picking up his bag. A small action, but one Emma took note of. The moment the back door swung shut behind him, Emma saw something shift among her co-workers. Jack, Mina, and Tom didn't move to throw out the food as they had been ordered. Instead, they shared a look, a silent agreement. Curiosity tugged at Emma. She watched Bradshaw disappear around the corner, then made a split-second decision. With one last glance to ensure no one was watching, she left the back door slightly ajar. A small act of defiance, but one that carried weight. Back in the kitchen, the others huddled together in hushed whispers. As soon as Emma approached, they fell silent. "That was brutal," she said. "You guys okay?" Jack sighed. "At least he's gone for now. But we don't mess up orders on purpose. It's that crazy rush between breakfast and lunch, things overlap, people get confused, and those self-order machines? They need a serious upgrade." Emma nodded. She knew they were right. But at that moment, another thought took root in her mind. Because that tray of discarded food? It wasn't trash. It was perfectly edible. And outside, just a few feet away, a group of homeless kids sat huddled together in the cold, their stomachs empty. Emma knew what she had to do. She grabbed the tray. Without hesitation, she slipped out the back door and walked towards the children. Their eyes widened as she knelt beside them, passing out the still warm food. "Eat up," she said with a small smile. But just as the first child reached for a burger, a furious voice cut through the air like a whip. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Emma spun around. Bradshaw. His face was red with rage, his bag still slung over his shoulder. He must have forgotten something and doubled back. "You're stealing from the company. Do you have any idea what you've just done?" he snarled. Emma opened her mouth to protest, but before she could utter a word, a chair scraped against the floor inside the restaurant. The entire kitchen staff turned as someone stood up. Keanu Reeves. He had seen everything. And judging by the look on his face, this wasn't going to end the way Bradshaw expected. What happened next? Well, let's just say, no one could have predicted how the tables were about to turn. The transition hour at McDonald's was always chaotic, but today, something felt different. Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know, Emma. I think Bradshaw's gone for a while. Did you see how he hesitated before grabbing his bag? It's like he suddenly decided to leave for more than just a quick smoke break. Emma nodded, her eyes flicking toward the back door. Yeah, I noticed. But Mina, never one to hold back, shook her head. I don't know, guys. He went out the back. If he was really leaving for a while, wouldn't he take his car? What if he comes back any minute? Tom, usually quiet, finally spoke. We should be careful. None of us can afford to lose this job. Emma sighed, knowing he was right. But at the same time, there was something else gnawing at her. Something far more urgent. She glanced at the clock. Those kids will be here soon. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the weight of those words settled heavily between them. Jack, Mina, Tom, they all knew what she meant. They had seen it before. The same small faces appearing at the edge of the alley behind the restaurant, waiting, hoping. They knew Emma had been sneaking leftover food to the homeless children who lingered nearby, and though they never said it out loud, they had silently supported her. Because how could they not? It was dangerous. If they got caught, it wouldn't just be Emma losing her job, it could be all of them. But at that moment, as they stood in the quiet kitchen, an unspoken agreement passed between them. They weren't going to stop. Emma forced herself back to the counter, pushing her nerves aside as the soft chime of the front door snapped her back into the present. A middle-aged man with kind eyes stepped up, offering her a polite smile. Good morning, Emma greeted warmly. What can I get for you today? He glanced up at the menu, considering his options. A coffee, and let's add a baked apple pie and a 6-piece nugget box. Emma nodded, her fingers quickly tapping the order into the register. Would you like your coffee black or with cream and sugar? Black is fine, thank you. As the coffee machine hummed, filling the air with the comforting aroma of fresh brew, Emma found her gaze drifting back to the door. The back door. The one she had left just slightly ajar. Her pulse quickened. She could feel the seconds slipping away. Placing the tray on the counter, she smiled. Here you go, sir, 1 black coffee, a baked apple pie, and a 6-piece nugget box. Anything else? No, that's perfect, thank you. The man took his tray and walked away, but Emma barely noticed. She quickly washed her hands again, a habitual motion, but her mind was elsewhere. Then, a soft knock. Her breath hitched. She turned, hands drying against her apron as she carefully approached the back door. Opening it just a crack, she found Sophia. The little girl stood there, wrapped in a faded pink winter jacket, her big brown eyes filled with both hope and fear. Sophia, Emma whispered, her voice barely steady. You made it. The girl nodded, clutching her tiny hands together to fight off the cold. The mean man is gone, right? She asked hesitantly. We're really hungry today. It's so cold outside. Emma's chest tightened. Without hesitation, she turned to the faulty tray, quickly picking out a chicken burger and a few beef patties. She wrapped them in napkins before pressing them gently into Sophia's hands. Here you go, sweetie. Is this enough? Sophia's eyes lit up, but then she hesitated. Miss Emma, is it okay if I take this to my brother first? I'll come back for more, for me and Mom. A lump formed in Emma's throat. This little girl, so young, so hungry, and yet, her first thought was of her family. Of course, Sophia, Emma whispered. Go quickly. Be careful, okay? Sophia nodded, her small frame disappearing into the alley. Emma exhaled sharply, pressing the door shut, but not all the way. Just in case. And just as she turned back, the counter bell rang. Emma froze. Her heart pounded as she hurried back to the front, past Jack, who gave her a subtle nod of encouragement. Past Mina, who kept a wary eye on the restaurant entrance. Past Tom, who pretended to scrub the grill but kept stealing nervous glances her way. Her smile returned as she greeted the next customer, but her mind was still behind that door, waiting. Hoping. Because Sophia would be back soon. And when she did, Emma would be ready. Emma found herself constantly checking the clock, counting down the minutes until she could help Sophia and her family again. The lunch rush was just picking up when her heart nearly stopped. Standing at the counter, looking as casual as any other customer, was Keanu Reeves. For a moment, Emma thought she must be seeing things. But no, it was really him. The Hollywood star, right there in her McDonald's. She took a steadying breath, forcing herself to stay professional as she approached the counter. "Good afternoon, sir. What can I get for you today?" Keanu smiled, warm and easy, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Hey there. I'll take a double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke, please." Emma nodded, trying to keep her hands steady as she punched in the order. "Certainly, sir. Will that be for here or to go?" "For here, thanks," he replied, his voice just as kind and gentle as she had imagined. As she prepared his meal, she couldn't help but steal glances at him, his casual outfit, his unassuming presence. It was clear he was trying to blend in. And Emma was determined to respect his privacy. She placed the tray on the counter with a polite smile. "Here you go, sir. 1 double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke. Enjoy your meal." Keanu thanked her with another warm smile before taking his tray to one of the outdoor tables. Emma watched him go, still hardly believing what had just happened. But her moment of starstruck awe was shattered by movement at the back door. Her heart leapt. Sophia. The little girl peeked inside, her wide eyes filled with worry. Emma quickly made her way to the back, keeping her voice low as she ushered Sophia just inside the doorway, shielding her from the cold. "Did you manage to get the food to your brother?" Sophia nodded, shivering slightly. "Yes, he was so happy, but I'm still really hungry." "And Mom?" Emma's chest tightened. Without hesitation, she turned to the faulty tray, gathering another burger, some chicken nuggets, a few more patties. She wrapped them carefully before handing them over. Outside, Sophia's gaze darted nervously around the alley. "Sophia, sweetie," Emma said softly, "I know you're hungry, but you can't stay here. It's not safe. The manager could come back any minute." Sophia's lower lip trembled. "But Miss Emma, if I take too much back at once, the other kids might try to steal it. Can I just eat it outside?" Emma felt torn. She understood. But she also knew the risks. "I know it's hard, sweetie," she whispered. "But you need to finish your meal at your tent, okay? I don't want you to get in trouble." Reluctantly, Sophia nodded, clutching the food to her chest. "Thank you so much." Emma watched as the little girl stepped outside. "Be careful, okay? And remember, you can always come back later when it's safer." As Sophia disappeared into the alley, Emma exhaled slowly and pushed the door shut, leaving it slightly ajar, as always. She leaned against the wall for a moment, the weight of it all pressing down on her. Back in the kitchen, she found Tom, Mina, and Jack huddled together, whispering. The moment she approached, they fell silent. Jack's eyes flicked toward the back door. "Everything okay?" Emma sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Yeah. Just, the usual." Mina crossed her arms, frowning. "Emma, I know you want to help, but this is getting dangerous. If Bradshaw finds out..." "I know," Emma cut in, her voice quiet but firm. "But what else can we do? These kids are starving. And all this food? It just gets thrown out anyway." Tom, who had been silent, finally spoke. "Maybe we need to think about this differently. There has to be a better way. Something more official. They all fell into thoughtful silence. The contrast between corporate rules and human decency had never felt sharper. And then, a furious voice shattered the moment. What the hell is this? Emma's blood ran cold. She knew that voice. Bradshaw. She turned, her stomach dropping as she saw him through the kitchen window, advancing on Sophia. The little girl stood near the trash bins, frozen in fear as the enraged manager stormed toward her. Get away from there, you filthy homeless kid. Emma, Jack, Mina, and Tom froze. For a split second, all she wanted to do was run to Sophia's defense. To shield her. To stop this. But she knew. If she stepped in now, she wouldn't just lose her job. She'd lose her chance to help any of these kids. Through gritted teeth, she forced herself to turn away, just as a new group of customers approached the front counter. Her chest was tight. Her hands shook. But she forced a smile. She took their order. She went through the motions. But all she could think about was Sophia. Had she gotten away? The weight of it all felt heavier than ever. And deep down, Emma knew. Something had to change. Because this couldn't go on much longer. Emma could feel their curious gazes burning into her back. The commotion from the back of the restaurant had not gone unnoticed. Across the counter, customers exchanged concerned looks, their expressions shifting from mild curiosity to discomfort. One woman, middle-aged with a furrowed brow, finally spoke up. Excuse me, what's going on back there? We heard shouting. Emma felt her stomach twist, but she forced herself to stay professional, her smile unwavering. Oh, it's nothing to worry about, she said lightly. Just a little misunderstanding between the manager and, well, some kids from the neighborhood. The woman's eyebrows shot up. Kids from the neighborhood, she echoed, a wary edge to her voice. You mean homeless children? Emma's heart sank. She could already see the shift happening, the way the customers glanced at each other, their murmured whispers growing more animated. Words like dangerous and unsanitary floated through the air. Then came the moment that made Emma's breath catch. You know what, the woman said, already reaching for her purse. I think we'll just go somewhere else for lunch. Thank you anyway. Emma watched, stunned, as the entire group turned and walked out, without ordering a thing. She stood frozen behind the counter, her mind reeling. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. The mere mention of homeless children was enough to drive people away. Before she could even process that sickening truth, Bradshaw's voice roared through the restaurant. All staff in my office. Now. Emma felt the air leave her lungs. She exchanged quick, worried glances with Mina, Jack, and Tom before they all moved toward the manager's office, like prisoners marching to sentencing. Bradshaw stood behind his desk, his face red, his hands gripping the edges of the table as if barely containing his rage. I cannot believe what I just witnessed, he spat, his voice trembling with anger. Do you have any idea how close we came to a disaster? Those vermin could have contaminated our entire kitchen. Emma's nails dug into her palms. Vermin. That's what he called them. Not children. Not people. Her stomach churned with fury, but she kept her face neutral. She saw Jack shifting uncomfortably, Mina's jaw tight with barely concealed anger, and Tom, usually quiet, looking down at the floor, his brows furrowed. Bradshaw wasn't done. From now on, I want every single one of you on high alert. If you see any of those homeless people approaching this restaurant, you are to call the police immediately. Do you understand? The team murmured their assent, their voices low, forced. But Emma felt the weight of it. The weight of his words. These people are like disease-carrying rats, Bradshaw sneered. They scare off decent customers and bring nothing but trouble. I won't let them ruin this business. Emma swallowed the bile rising in her throat. Just look at this place. We're already smaller than other McDonald's locations, and it's my responsibility to turn that around. If the owner found out about this, it would be my job on the line. Do you all understand me?" The team nodded, saying nothing. Finally, Bradshaw exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. Dismissed. Emma turned on her heel, following her coworkers out of the office. The moment the door closed behind them, she exhaled. And then, she mouthed a silent thank you to them. Because they had kept her secret. No one had said a word about Sophia. Mina gave her a small, determined nod. Jack patted her shoulder lightly as he walked past. Tom, ever the quiet one, simply met her gaze with understanding. It was a small comfort in the face of Bradshaw's cruelty. But it was something. As she returned to her station, her thoughts drifted back to the customers who had left earlier. The disgust in their eyes. The way they had recoiled at the mere thought of homeless children. It made her wonder. How many people thought like that? How many people would turn away from those who needed help the most? The rest of the afternoon blurred by. Orders. Transactions. Smiling at customers while her mind was elsewhere. She counted the hours. Waiting. Hoping. Sophia would come back. And Emma would be ready. The clock struck 3 p.m. It was time. Emma's heart picked up as she wiped down the counter, taking slow, steady breaths. She needed to stay calm. Turning to Mina, she spoke as casually as she could. "Mina, can you cover the counter for me? I'm going to take my break now." Mina nodded immediately, a knowing look in her eyes. "Sure thing, Emma. Take your time." Emma forced a grateful smile and headed straight for Bradshaw's office. Knocking lightly, she braced herself as his gruff voice called out, "Come in." She stepped inside, keeping her tone steady. "Mr. Bradshaw, I'm taking my lunch break now. If that's all right?" He barely looked up from his computer. "Fine. 30 minutes. Not a second more. We're short-staffed as it is." Emma bit the inside of her cheek to keep herself from saying what she really wanted to say. Maybe we wouldn't be short-staffed if you hadn't cut everyone's hours. But instead, she simply nodded. "Thank you, sir." And with that, she walked out. Because she had a mission to complete. Emma's heart pounded as she stepped into the cool afternoon air. She had 30 precious minutes to find Sophia and her family, to make sure they were okay after the morning's chaos. But as she stepped outside, her stomach dropped. A perfectly wrapped burger lay abandoned on the sidewalk. It was the same one she had given Sophia for her mother. Emma bent down, fingers trembling. The sight told her everything. Sophia must have dropped it while running in fear. Determined, she hurried through the alleys, scanning for any sign of the girl. Nearly 10 minutes passed before she finally spotted a flash of pink, Sophia's tent. Hidden away in a quiet alcove, just as the girl had once described. Emma approached cautiously. "Sophia?" "It's Emma, from McDonald's." The tent rustled, and instead of Sophia, a woman who looked just like her peeked out. "Sophia's mother." "You're the one who helped Sophia," the woman said, eyes wary yet grateful. Emma nodded. "Yes. I wanted to check on her after what happened." The woman sighed. "She's not here. She went looking for her brother, for food." That's when Emma noticed it, a tiny bundle in the woman's arms. A newborn. Emma gasped. I didn't know Sophia had a baby sister." The mother nodded, pride and worry flickering in her tired eyes. "She was born 3 weeks ago. It's been hard." Everything clicked. Sophia wasn't just asking for more food, her mother needed extra nutrition to breastfeed. And in this cold? That was dangerous. Emma swallowed hard. "I had no idea. Is there anything I can do?" The woman hesitated, then admitted, "Sophia was scared after this morning. She thought we might have to look for food somewhere else, but we don't know where to go." Emma's heart clenched at the thought of Sophia wandering the streets alone. "Tell her to come back after 5 p.m., she urged. "The manager will be gone. Look for a black Ford Explorer, license plate XMT 5392. If it's gone, it's safe." The woman's eyes shimmered with gratitude. "Thank you, Emma. You're an angel." Emma glanced at her watch. Her break was nearly over. "I have to go," she said hurriedly, but with one last reassuring nod, she turned and rushed back to the restaurant. As she neared the back entry, her mind spun. A newborn. More food needed. Sophia afraid to return. It was too much. She pulled out a cigarette and a small cracker from her pocket, trying to steady her nerves. But her appetite was gone. Taking a final deep breath, she stubbed out the cigarette, straightened her uniform, and pushed open the back door. She had to focus. Survive the shift. But one thought wouldn't leave her mind. She needed a better plan. An unexpected ally. The afternoon rush kept Emma busy, but her thoughts never left Sophia. Between customers, she noticed Keanu Reeves still sitting at his outdoor table, now working on a laptop. He had been there for hours. Curious, Emma decided to do something kind. She prepared a tray with a baked apple pie, fresh coffee, and nuggets, then approached his table. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly. "A little something extra. On the house." Keanu looked up, surprised. "That's very kind of you, but you didn't have to." Emma smiled. "Please, I insist." He studied her for a moment. "This isn't really on the house, is it? It's coming out of your pocket." Emma blushed, caught off guard. "Well, yes. But I just wanted to do something nice." A warm smile spread across his face. "In that case, I'll gladly accept." "Thank you, Emma." As she turned to leave, Keanu spoke again. "I'm actually working while I wait. This friend I'm meeting, well, let's just say they're pretty important." Emma nodded, intrigued but not wanting to pry. "Well, if you need anything else, let me know." Returning to work, she felt a small victory. Amidst all the stress, this tiny act of kindness felt like a moment of light. But she had no idea just how important Keanu's presence would soon become. The breaking point. As office hours ended, the restaurant quieted down. Then, Mr. Bradshaw finally left. Emma held her breath as his Ford Explorer roared to life. She listened as the sound faded and disappeared. Only then did she allow herself to relax. Jack grinned. "He's really gone?" Mina, less certain, bit her lip. "Do you think Sophia will come back after this morning?" Tom nodded. "We need a better system, Emma. This isn't sustainable. We're going to get caught one day." Emma sighed, knowing they were right. But just as she was about to respond, a soft sound from the back entry. She froze, then exchanged a glance with her coworkers before hurrying to the door. With careful movements, she eased it open. The cool evening air rushed in, carrying city scents, car exhaust, nearby restaurants, and beneath it all, the cold staleness of the streets. There, huddled in the alley, were 6 children and 4 adults. Their eyes grew wide with hope and hunger. Emma's heart tightened. Without hesitation, she moved swiftly, gathering leftover Happy Meals for the kids, older burgers for the adults. She met each person's gaze, offering a smile, a reassuring touch. The whispered thank yous made it all worth it. But something was missing. Sophia. Emma scanned the group, worry creeping in, until she spotted a flash of pink. Sophia. Hidden behind her brother, her mother standing close, clutching the newborn. Emma's relief flooded out. "Sophia," she knelt down. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" The girl hesitated before nodding. "Just a little wound on my leg. But I bandaged it." Emma's fists clenched. A child shouldn't have to do that. She reached out, gently squeezing Sophia's shoulder. I was so worried about you." Then, she carefully packed a special box, extra protein-rich food for Sophia's breastfeeding mother. As she handed it over, her voice softened. "I made sure there's extra for you." Tears welled in the mother's eyes. "You don't know what this means to us." Before Emma could respond, a furious voice tore through the alley. "What the hell is going on here?" Emma's blood ran cold. She turned to Bradshaw. His face twisted with rage. His veins bulged. And time seemed to stop. Everything they had worked for, everything she had risked, was about to explode.